Hey guys, welcome back to the Paradigm Shifting Podcast. I'm your host, Pinky Bell, and this week's episode we're doing a catch-up chat with Hannah. These are some of my favorite episodes to do because we have so much fun doing them. I hope you enjoy them as much as we enjoy recording them. If you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave me a review on iTunes if you're an iTunes listener. It's one of the biggest ways, the easiest ways that you can help support the podcast. Thanks so much for your continued support. Now let's get into this week's episode.
All right. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. I'm here with Hannah again, and we are doing our, monthly, bi-weekly catch-up. We're doing a catch-up chat today. So it should be super fun. I don't think I have a whole lot of new stuff going on, but Hannah always does. So that's what we're doing today. Hannah, what's new in your world?
Well, we started the challenge, the thing that started in like a little bit before June. I don't remember what day, but I've been working on that, and I have new updates because I was failing miserably. Now I'm not failing as badly, but it's just because I changed a whole bunch of stuff. And I have new information on things that are going on with John and I. For those that don't know, John is my boyfriend. So, and those of you that are listening from my channel, you might be really excited to hear it. So that's very cool. And then otherwise it's just kind of boring. Oh, and time blocking. I want to talk about time blocking because it's going to change your life.
Okay. So I guess let's start with the time blocking first, and make people wait to get to the John stuff so they have to watch the whole video.
Oh, that's a really good idea, suckers.
So the time blocking, I did, I don't know if you ever listened to the interview that I did with my friend Kara, and she explained her method of how she runs her businesses and takes care of her toddler. And the method that she uses I would call it time blocking, but she basically knows that she has like certain periods of time where she can do like the mindless kind of stuff that doesn't require any thought. And then during certain periods of the day, she knows that that's the only time that she can really intently focus. Is that similar to time blocking at all? I'll just let you explain it.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, no, it's a similar. I mean, I think that what it comes down to is how specific do you want to make it. And I was reading last month, I read a book on Elon Musk, and I'm always curious about how successful people are managing to do so many things so well. So that's been something for me that I've been really interested in this year, is just learning from people that are already doing, interesting, awesome things. And
you hear
one
this
of the methods.
Jet?
No. Oh, now okay. I do.
It's like so loud, and I thought it would go away, but I was like. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I got this idea for time blocking, and let me back up and talk about the challenge that we were doing. Mine was to not procrastinate. And for me, like, I tried really hard, and I found every day that I was totally failing. And it was a tiny little goal. I needed to do 30 minutes of a particular kind of work that I have that I absolutely hate. I am trying to build a website, and for anybody that knows me, I hate computers. I hate messing with them. I hate anything remotely technical, and it's driving me crazy. And I don't even know the words to Google. That's how much my understanding is lacking. So I kept avoiding it, and I would do all these other productive things, but that's been sitting on my plate since, let's say February. Let's say February. It's actually been more like a year. And so I realized that I was wasting all this time, and the reason I was procrastinating was because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand. So I decided to start picking up books. I just picked up a book on the first thing I didn't understand, which was basically website navigation building, which is the most boring subject that I've ever read in my life. But it's only like 200 and something pages, so I finished it in a couple of days. And then I read one on copy, and then I found that I'm reading 2 to 5 books a week. Because anytime that I don't know how to do something, somebody's written a book on it. It's not an interesting book, but it has more information than what I have in my brain. So I had to look at how much time I was spending in each activity. That became really, really important because I was doing so much learning, which obviously cuts into your productive, actually doing things time.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know, like we've talked about this before, you can't just read and learn and analyze. You have to
Mm-hmm.
actually do as well. So I wanted to make sure that I was dividing my time in a way that served me. So at first the first day I started with just an hour, and I just did, like, I blocked off an hour of time, and I marked it to-do list. And I basically have this running to-do list of 30 things at any given time that I have to sit down at the computer and do. Most things take like 5 minutes. So I blocked off that hour, and it worked so well. And then the next day I get up at 4:30, and I time block from 4:30 to 5 before I go to the gym. And I schedule every minute of my day from the time that I wake up and time block, that's
Mm-hmm.
scheduled, to the time that I crawl into bed at night. And it's extremely specific. So I look at the tasks every day, and I block those tasks. Because something super valuable that I learned last year that never sunk in was that work will expand to fill the time that you give it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm going to give 30 minutes to answering my emails, it's going to take 30 minutes. If I give it 5 minutes, I am done so much faster, with really no lack of, no downside. There's no, it doesn't suffer in quality
Mm-hmm.
just because I'm not agonizing over it for a full 30 minutes. So that changed my world in like a matter of days. And I think I messaged you. I was like, I cannot wait to tell you about this. But I feel like I'm learning and I'm growing. And I always feel, that feeling where you're so overwhelmed with everything that you have to do.
Mm-hmm. I'm
not suffering from that. And I'm also not suffering from like that paralyzing, I don't know what to do feeling, because I've fixed that with, if I ever feel that way about something, I pick up a book and I read it. And then I know how to do it, or at least I know what directions, which direction to search in.
That's I think that's something that we do like as like a good procrastination tool, where we know we have so much stuff to do, and if we avoid itemizing it, then we can trick ourselves into saying that we'll get it done. I'll get this done today. But then if you never get to it, then you have to roll it over to the next day. And it's one of those things that I think we do where we keep the problem in our mind instead of getting it out and handled. And then we just carry it with us all the time.
And then it makes you feel bad every day at the end of the day when you're like, oh, well, that's going to roll over till tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done that with things for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. Oh,
and it's rolled over every day. And it just kind of increases that anxiety.
Dude, I have to take, my boys use Connections Academy, and they send you all of the textbooks. Mm-hmm. Well, at the end of the school year, they send you a label that you can print or have printed for you to mail the books back. The books are in boxes already. I kept them in the boxes. I have the label printed. They're in the van. They're in my vehicle with the label, and I still haven't taken them. And I've put it all, I've rolled it over now for like 5 days.
Yeah, I have an Amazon return sitting in my car, and it's been there for like 4 or 5 days now too.
Yeah.
So I know how that goes. For some reason, mailing things is just like so annoying to me.
Yeah.
Even though I go out twice a day, it doesn't matter.
My issue has been though that because I went one time to take them, but I had Willow with me, and I'm like, oh shit, I can't carry these and carry her.
Right, exactly. How can you be expected to do that?
So, but I'm going to do it today.
Asking
you. I know. It's so funny because we don't even use the books, because it's all online. So I'm like, stop printing these books. Ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so you are productive AF now.
Yes. And for those that are interested in time blocking, I researched and I tried to use like 7 different apps, but the problem was that I needed them to integrate properly. And I'm just going to save you guys a lot of trouble. Just use Google Calendar. Like, there's not a better time blocking app out there.
Yeah.
like I tried all these fancy things that were specifically for time blocking. And the problem was I then had to go update like 3 or 4 apps because it wouldn't sync with my to-do list and it wouldn't sync with my schedule. And, I throw information wherever I feel like in the moment, whatever is most efficient. So I need all of my technology to tell me the same thing at all times.
Right.
And by the way, that saves you a lot of time on automation. But yeah, I would just use Google Calendar, particularly. I mean, if you find it doesn't work for you, then by all means do something else. Or I don't know about iPhone users, but
I have an iPhone, but I don't know anything about the calendars.
Yeah, something I will say, I don't know how you time block with children. I mean, obviously I have a kid, but he's 12, so it's a little different. Like with young kids, I don't know. I don't know how I would have time blocked with a toddler.
That's where I think my friend's episode that I did, Kara, I think that episode, you can look it up, is called, for the parents that are listening, it's called like working from home while quarantined or something. Because she's been working from home like the entire time. And she has really, really successful businesses. And the way that she explained it is really, really good because you get to have like focused, concentrated time with your children, but also you get to get your work done too. So I would recommend, I guess, just listening to that episode because she explains it a lot better than I do.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously. For the parents, then yeah, take her advice and not mine. But non-parents, get your act together.
Yeah, I think itemizing to-do lists. I mean, I don't know, because there's a lot of people who make the lists and never take any steps though too. So
well, that's the thing is then they have to have that discipline. Like once you set the time block, like my time block for to-do list, I have to stop what I'm doing before and start the tasks that are on my to-do list.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I average a book every other week or so. Some weeks I'll read a couple books. Some weeks I only read one, and sometimes it takes me a couple weeks to finish a book. But I actually stopped reading like all the self-help books. I stopped reading all of the like informational texts and stuff that I would normally be digging into because I don't know. I feel like there's too much noise. Like with these last few weeks, life got really noisy. So I stopped everything and I read like some shitty fiction book. Like to just like, and I didn't even read it. I listened to it on audio, which is, I don't know. I haven't been reading.
You have times, like you have phases in your life. Like when John was here last time, I don't think I read at all. Like sometimes there's just life takes priority.
Yeah.
But right now I'm trying to buckle down because it's just me here. And
well, and that comes back to making use of your time and your circumstances too. Like it's just smart to do as much as you can right now. So you have news about John, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is a pretty big step in my life because last year, like when I was getting out of a bad breakup, I could not have imagined wanting to be back in anything serious because the focus was so entirely like on me. I was feeling very self-centered, I guess, but not in a negative way. Just, it was time to stop focusing on something external and focus very internal. So I did that kind of over the past year. But I found that sometimes, if you're very fortunate, you can be with someone and not have to sacrifice your self-focus. And if anything, being focused on yourself only adds to both of your strength and happiness. So I have found that, thankfully, with John, and it has kind of played out that he can leave his job and sell the house and all that and leave where he is, and he's going to come here with me next month.
Yay.
So, yay, very exciting. So hopefully that means I'll be able to put out a lot more content on my channel more regularly, and maybe restart some of our other pet projects. And I'm very, very excited. But before he comes out permanently, he's coming next Friday, not this Friday, but next. Okay. And he's going to stay for a week or a little bit more than a week, just to help me get some house stuff done. He has vacation time from his job, so he's using it before he quits. So that's the only reason. But it'll be nice because it'll be just us, just the two of us here. So
nice.
It'll be a fun week.
That is so exciting. And I know we've talked about this like privately before, but just how necessary it is to take the time to heal and be super alone. We run into a lot of women who end a relationship and immediately are like, well, how do I find my guy? How do I find my perfect guy? And it's like, you have to stop right there, because like that desperate need to find somebody right away is exactly why you're finding the wrong ones for a lot of people. I just did an episode, again, I keep like plugging my own shit, but I just did an episode with another friend about her divorce and stuff. And we had the same conversation where she was saying she took this long break and she didn't talk about it on social media. She really just turned all of her focus inward, and when she wasn't expecting to find somebody, that's whenever she found somebody who's just like perfect for her now.
Yes, because what I found was that when, because I wouldn't say I dated casually, but I went on dates, and I found that the more that a guy might want something like someone codependent, the less healthy that was probably going to end up. So when you're just coming out of something and you're hurting and you're insecure and kind of miserable, like that's not the time to start thinking about dragging somebody else into that crap.
Right.
But when you are confident and you are making yourself happy and your life has a positive trajectory, what that's going to attract is somebody exactly like that, who is happy and has a positive life trajectory and can not make you happy, but not impede your happiness. And you guys can share that happiness back and forth.
Yeah. You get somebody who can add value to an already valuable experience in life. I think it's so good. And I think you could even take that mentality and expand it out, because every time that we start looking for solutions outside of ourselves, it doesn't give us the results that we want. Like even just like thinking of parenting, like if I'm having an issue with my children and I'm looking at it of like sometimes in parenting we use tactics or we get advice or seek advice that focuses on changing the child, but it always comes back to the self. Like you have to adjust how you're thinking, how you're feeling, how you're reacting and responding. And that in turn is going to change your relationship with your kids or your husband or the fucking Tinder dudes that you're dating,
Right. And it has to be, and you have to be mindful of it being healthy for them too. Because yes, you know what's healthy for you, but for instance, it doesn't do me any good if John is miserable or depressed or, under a lot of pressure, and me, imposing my expectations or desires or wants on him, at a time that he's already under pressure. That's not healthy for him. And by proxy, not healthy for me, because it's the only thing it's going to do is make him resentful. So for instance, just today, he was going to come out here middle of June, and he was like, hey, can I run something by you? And I was like, of course. And he's like, I'm thinking about when I drive down there, like for good, I think I might make it a really long trip and, go stay with my brother for a week in Florida and, like slowly make my way like around the country. Like this would otherwise, guys, be like a 2-day drive. But it sounds like it might be 2 or 3 weeks. And I am totally supportive of that, because I know what's going to happen is he's going to be alone and he's going to have nothing to do but think about like the fact that this is a new chapter in his life and think about what he wants. It gives him time to come to terms with that. He gets to see his brother. And, you know, he gets to travel and have adventures, which is something that he loves to do. And it's like, I don't feel an ounce of like stress or, you know, resentment or anything about that, because I have plenty going on here. I don't need him here in order to, you know, make my life complete. In a way, I get a lot more done without him here. But hopefully we can find a routine that fits both of us. But that's part of it. It's your life doesn't get worse just because they're not around. That's a really important distinction.
Yes. Can we talk about how crazy it is? Because I remember us having conversations about how it's hard to make plans or follow a routine or whatever before you had this house. And it's so awesome to see it happening now. Like, we talked about it and like visualized it, like even things as simple as having your own like pantry and like your own routine. So now what I'm thinking of is how it's going to be really difficult whenever he gets there for the first couple weeks or maybe even months while you find a new routine, because his presence will be disruptive to your natural flow. And then you're going to have to work together, right, to make sure that you're coming together in ways that you need to, but also maintaining your separate identities. So you both are maintaining your individual mental health.
Definitely. And that is so important for both of us, because we both struggle with depression and anxiety. And we need very different things, and we handle it very differently. He needs a lot of alone time. He's absolutely an introvert. And it isn't, he was so afraid, because we had that trial run, right, of about 2 months or so that he stayed here. And it was okay for the first month, but then the second month he started to get a little off. And he was afraid, you know, to tell me. He didn't want to hurt my feelings, but he just needed to be by himself for a while. And I don't ever have that, you know, like I can be alone with someone else in the room and I'm fine with it. But he needed to go and be by himself in another room for like, you know, 24 hours. And that's fine. We've talked about how we need to communicate those things. And that it's more important for him to take care of his mental health and take that time than it is for him to be around and available to me all the time. Because he's not in service to me. He was helping me, like, out of the goodness of his heart with a lot of my house projects and stuff. But if he wasn't here, I'd still be doing them. It just would take me a lot longer and it'd be a lot harder. That's the only difference. But going back to your question about routine, do you know, I was just thinking about that this morning when I was making breakfast.
That's so funny.
I was sitting there and I was stirring my eggs and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I had everything that I needed exactly in the place that I left it. And it took me all of like 5 minutes to make eggs. And I couldn't believe it.
I think those moments are so cool where like, it's like, not to sound super cheesy, but like where like you realize like this was a little dream that came true like that. How cool is that?
Yes. And for those that don't understand the context, before I purchased this house, I moved in January, and I've been slowly getting it ready since then. I lived for the past year. I'd kind of bounced between 3 or 4 different houses. The past 18 months, I guess, before that. You know, I lived like a third of the time in Canada, a third of the time on the East Coast in the US, a third of the time in Texas. And I was never in one place more than like a week. And it was exhausting because I was always packing a bag. Like I was always having to buy, you know, replacement toothpaste. You know, I was always forgetting something. It was so miserable.
And it's not travel and then coming back to a main base. You had no main base. You were just bouncing from temporary residences.
There was no place that was mine. Like, I mean, the place that Luca and I had in Vancouver was ours, but it wasn't ours when I was gone. You know, like he turned it back into his really quick.
Yeah.
So it wasn't quite the same. And then the 2 prior years to that, I'd been trying to get my business started, and I lived in a travel trailer that I pulled around in a truck, and it was just me and Emmy, and we tooled around the country going to like shows and things. In support, of the business, because there was no point in me paying rent when I was at a different show every weekend, and one weekend I'd be in Arizona and another weekend I'd be in Orlando, and it just didn't make any sense to have to go pay rent somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled my house around. So I didn't have a home base there either. I spent a lot of time sleeping in my truck in the front seat, and Emmy slept on top of me. I spent a lot of time sleeping in the tents at the shows because I was too cheap to get a hotel room. So it was a weird, very gypsy lifestyle for a while. So having a house, and this is what we talked about, once I bought the house, but I was moving in, I was like, if I can stick to a routine and, get my have-tos done, like my fitness and my nutrition and, read a book or whatever. If I can do that amidst the chaos of my life, like how much more can I get done when I have a solid foundation?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized this morning as I was making eggs that it's here. I've arrived. And that was the coolest feeling.
Right. And it comes back to like automation, basically, that if you're in a situation where you can do certain things so habitually that you don't even have to think about them, then that's an automated habit. Because in the beginning, whenever you're changing like diet or lifestyle, there's a lot of mental energy that goes into it, like just thinking of like,
Mhm.
oh, like, okay, I got to go to the gym. I have to make sure, like, there's just so much thought that goes behind it.
Well, I realized, just as an example, when I would go to a new city, I'd have to find a place to stay. I'd have to Google where the gym is. I'd have to go to the grocery store, and I'd have to buy things that fit my diet, but were, I was able to use in a hotel room or
Mm-hmm.
eat out of my truck, that fit my macros. I had a really restrictive diet at the time. And there was just so much planning that went into something very, very basic.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, I get to take that deep breath and focus on all this other stuff because I have all the mental energy available. And it's very, very cool. So I definitely recommend automating as many processes in your life as possible, but also have adventures. So figure out how to balance those things, I guess. I'm loving all of the reading.
Yeah.
It's so nice because it's not, something interesting happens when you read a book. Generally, within any book, there'll be nonfiction. There'll be like at least 2 or 3 other book suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
And so your book just, grows exponentially larger as you're like, oh my God, I want to know about this, and I want to know about this, and I want to know about this. And it's so cool because I'm never going to remember all of something that I read, but you take these little gems that you can apply to your life, and all of a sudden it's like, like if you amass enough like little bits of wisdom from each book, like that's how you level up in life.
Yeah. I have a hard time reading, like physically reading, really dense books, because one, my attention is always being pulled. So like the focus that I would give to reading a book, is yanked away from me whenever like one of the kids needs me or something. So for me, I think that's why I really like the podcasting format or like documentaries, because I can pause it and I can go back to it easily, and I feel like I absorb the information a lot better.
Right.
So
what are you reading right now?
I don't think I'm reading anything. I got one book. I rented a book on like the opioid crisis.
Oh.
But I didn't even start it.
Are you going to?
I don't know. I am. So like one of the things that I was going to talk about is I had this idea and I ran it by Brian and he's on board, but I really I'm considering signing up to be a big for the Big Brother Big Sister thing. But I've had the application pulled up on my computer for so long, but I'm really hesitant to make any more time commitments.
Right.
Because I don't know if there's something going on with me mentally, but I'm feeling very drained lately. I feel like I'm kind of stretched thin, even though I don't do a lot. So that's why I think that it might be mental. So I'm tabling it for right now because in the next few weeks, we have a busy few weeks. I told you what we're doing for the boys' birthday.
Super cool, by the way.
Very excited. I'm going to film as much of the process as I can so I can show all of you guys. And I would explain it right now, but they're in the next room and they're probably like, what's she going to do?
It.
Yeah. So, but after their birthday thing, and I don't think I've told you this, but we're taking a family vacation to Idaho. Did I tell you this?
No, I thought you were going to Vegas.
We were going to Vegas until COVID happened. So all of the money that we saved and the vacation time that my husband saved, we didn't really have anything to do. So my mother-in-law was like, hey, their family has this amazing like lake house in Idaho. So now we're going to Idaho for a week.
What do you do in Idaho? What do you do in Idaho? I don't know.
Well, they have this house on a lake. So will be like boating and the boys can play in the water. I think it'll be really good because it'll force them to take a break from video games. And I don't have a problem with video games, but I do think it's a good family reset because I've traveled with the boys, but we haven't taken a family vacation really before. The last time that we took one was whenever we were living in Georgia, and I had fun, but I could tell that Brian was miserable, and I didn't know it at the time, but that's whenever he was in the height of like his painkiller addiction. So he ran out before we took that vacation. So he was going through withdrawals the whole time. So that's my memory of like our family vacation now is like.
Well, I've heard Idaho is beautiful.
Yeah, so it'll be apparently it'll be really like cool, like the temperature wise, like it'll warm up during the day so we can enjoy the lake, and then at night it should cool down. So
you sure you don't want to make it like a family in Hana vacation?
You should just show up. That'd be so awesome.
Right? Brian would then really have a great time, I feel.
So we're doing that, and then when we come back, that's when Brian's dad from Georgia is coming to visit us the very next day. And he's bringing like all of Brian's brothers. He's bringing his girlfriend and her 2 kids. Like these fools are coming all the way from Georgia to Utah.
Are they driving?
No, they're all going to fly.
Oh my God.
So
I guess flights right now.
Yeah.
Super cheap.
So they're renting like a big house, and like I guess one day we're going to rent a pontoon. So the next like 3 weeks are actually kind of busy for my standards.
Well, thank God you're talking to me now, because apparently you're not going to be talking to me for the next 3 weeks. What the hell?
Luckily, I do have Wi-Fi in Idaho. They said there was Wi-Fi. So
you couldn't go. So
yeah, I know.
I need access.
But other than that, I don't know. Here's where it's weird. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, like am I depressed? Like I don't trust myself at all because it happens so suddenly. Where like I wake up one day and I'm like, oh fuck, like I'm really depressed. So like I'm like, am I depressed? Because on one end, like I'm very aware that something might be going on, but also I'm having a lot of fun by myself. I'm like I'm making my TikTok videos and dorking around on Instagram, and like I'm just like I'm just chilling like by myself.
Yeah.
I'm making
No, I
my
get
little
that.
cooking videos. So I don't know, I'm having fun, but then there's also that voice that's like, is this kind of sad? Like,
You ever have those days that you wake up and it's like, you're kind of just moping around. You're like, am I depressed or am I just lazy? Because I
yes.
have those days sometimes. And then I'm like, oh my God, am I just like a really lazy person? And then I'm like, okay, think about what you do normally. Like, I don't know. I feel like I need like a metric, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well,
And then I
Brian,
can't.
he's always like, you could just not do anything. Like, that's fine. Like, it'll be like 11 and I'm like, I haven't even gotten ready. And he's like, you could do nothing all day. Like, you don't have to clean everything or take the kids to the park. And I'm like, what? Just do nothing? Like, what? So,
Well, no, I get that because it's like I don't feel good after a day that I do nothing generally.
I have to be
Unless it's like,
really intentional with it. Like,
same. I have to be like
schedule
on
it.
vacation. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a planned thing. And, I'm going to relax. I'm not going to think of anything. Otherwise, I just feel crummy.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Like, why wouldn't you? Because then I think about the fact that we don't have this plethora of time available to us that's infinite. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not to be cliche, but if you go through your life doing nothing on a regular basis, like, seems so wasteful. Like, rest is different than doing nothing to me.
Yes. That's an important distinction. I read a quote the other day that was like, it had said like, the problem isn't that that we don't have enough time, it's that we waste so much of it. And I think about that like a lot, especially because like Willow, this is such, I feel ridiculous even complaining about it, but she sleeps so late. Like, she's waking up at like 9:30 every morning. And I'm so used to all of the boys waking up at 4 in the morning. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and she's such a psycho that like I can't leave her alone. So I just have to like stay there with her. So I've gotten in the habit of like sleeping in, but it's so hard because whenever I get up at 9, then after I do my makeup and like make breakfast and stuff, like it's already like 11 or noon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, the day is just gone. But I'm trying not to complain about it, and I'm trying to not like stare at her like and be resentful. Like, I'm like, this is good. Like, she's sleeping. It'll be fine. I have plenty of time
Yeah.
because I do. I have plenty of time. So.
The wasted time thing, like, that's so massive because I found myself before I started doing the time blocking, I took a couple days to try to like be intentional about what was I doing with my time.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't believe how much time I spent just opening up a social media app and scrolling for a few minutes. Like, how many times I did that. So I deleted them. I got rid of them off my home screen. I hid
Mm-hmm.
them, in my apps menu. I got rid of some entirely. And then I put my books there, like where my thumb would naturally go to open like Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I don't ever use Facebook, but Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that was helping me not just not waste time, but like, doing something that doesn't advance anything.
Mm-hmm.
But it was helping me actually get things done that I wanted to get done, because then I could consume, 5 minutes of reading. And 5 minutes of reading, if you do it 25 times a day,
Yes.
you can finish a book in a couple of days if that's all you did. Like, if that's, you only read, what is that, 250 minutes or something? Somebody's going to check my math. I'm going to be wrong. I don't care.
So I stopped I got on Facebook for a little bit, and Facebook is it's too crazy. It's too banana ass on Facebook. I don't know how anybody uses it. It immediately stresses me out.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram for me has changed quite a bit over the last few weeks. And that has been really interesting because a lot of the people that I would spend some time talking to, I feel like everybody right now is really burned out on social media. So I feel like a lot of people are kind of staying off of it. It's a little quieter. But I have started again focusing on not consuming content. Like, I just want to make content, because even as like, I don't know, like confident as I am, I see things and I'm so easily influenced is what it is. So I see what other people are doing and I'm like, well, fuck, should I be doing that? Like, stuff like that. So, and then I've noticed whenever I consume more, I feel like I think less. Like, I'm not forming original thoughts. I'm parroting other people's opinions because I respect them in one area. I feel like I have to value their opinion on a different topic. So consuming less content has been really nice. And I think this is a result of me consuming less content, but I did a full rebrand of the podcast and my YouTube, and just like everything, like changing the title, changing the graphics and stuff. And that's been really nice because I feel like it's more me, I guess. Like, I feel less influenced by what other people are doing, I think.
Oh, and it looks amazing. So
yeah, I like it because I've been doing it on, I'm not sure, I don't remember when this episode's coming out, but
20 something.
20 something. The 25th is my 1-year anniversary with the podcast. So that is also something that's really, really neat because I don't stick to stuff very consistently. So the fact that I've stuck with this for a year is kind of nice. So
wait, the 25th is your anniversary of that? Interesting. The 26th is the anniversary of everything blowing up in Vancouver. How weird is that?
It is because that's the twins' birthday.
Oh, is that was the twins' birthday? Wow. I had no idea. I don't remember that. I was a little out of it that day.
Well, yeah, a little bit. But isn't it, look how much a year, I mean, a year can be so long and so short depending on what you're comparing it to, but how much can change in a year is, it blows my mind every year. Like, every year I'm like, holy shit.
This year I feel like I just have like, that's been like a marker in my mind, I guess. And because it was such a quick transition from this is my life to this is my life now. It was a matter of like 3 or 4 days. And that was just amazing, like how quickly, like literally everything in my life changed. So, and my God, from the day that I left the country, my life has gotten only better. Like
literally I remember like the day you got back to the States, like we were already talking about how much better you feel. Like this 24 hours removed from the country is, this percentage better than any day in the last 6 months, basically.
Yes. It was amazing. I wish all breakups could be that, like, satisfying.
I know. Well, that's the thing. I always see these memes all the time of like how, like, whenever guys go through a breakup, they usually get like real like shittier, like they get uglier and like they kind of fall apart. But whenever women go through a separation, like they pick themselves up and put themselves together and they're so much better off.
Yeah. And I got new boobs, so that was like the highlight so far.
That helps.
I mean, okay, there's my house, but I don't know. I think I'd rather have the boobs.
The boobs could always get you a house if need be.
That's a smart woman.
I have a house. I need some boobs.
Right. Well, no, you've got them. It's just you won't when Willow stops using them.
My little sad tatas. That's why I can't. Brian and I talk all the time about how we are gonna be married forever because we're too lazy to date again. I'm so fucking tired of trying to impress anybody. I couldn't do it. I could not survive a date like with the small talk. Like, what do you want from me?
It's awful. Let me tell you. It
Holding
is.
your toots in.
Yep. No, still do that. Still will do that.
Well,
forever.
I mean, I still do that, but at least I can like, because remember I have that bet with Brian.
What's the bet? Remind me.
Whenever we got married, I told him that I would never toot in front of him. Mm-hmm. And I said that sleep toots and labor toots don't count. Right. And I've stuck true to it.
Actually.
And I see these people on TikTok, like, they're like burping and farting. And I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like it.
I was talking to John because I don't like that, right? Like I don't like it when guys do it either, even though it's so acceptable for them because, you know, they're big 5-year-olds, farts are always funny, blah, blah, blah. I don't like it. Have some dignity, please. And I was talking to him about it because he was getting more comfortable with me. Not in that respect, but like he would like intentionally burp really loud or something. And I'd be like, do you realize that like I'm gonna be having sex with you later? And that's what I'm gonna think of. And his face, like he went ashen.
That's
and
what
he was like, oh.
Brian, whenever we lived on base, he had a bunch of younger friends and they would bring their girlfriends or their wives over and they would do that thing where they're like forcibly like farting, like so loud. And I was like, how do you do that? Like your wife or your girlfriend is supposed to try to find you attractive and you're acting like, and I realize it makes me sound like a total fucking prude, but I stand by this.
No, I do too.
Don't be gross.
Guys, yes. And guys have we've discussed this before, but women have the hot crazy scale and guys have the hot crusty scale. So all guys are at least 4 crusty. And that's part of the 4 crusty. So now whenever John does something like gross, I'll just do this to him.
Oh my God.
He's like, oh, I'm not that crusty. And I'm like, no. And I'll point out, 2 or 3 times a day. But yeah, you're crusty. You're a crusty man. It's gross.
I love men so much. They're so great, but they are so crusty.
I would never want to live with a woman. Like, please, I will take crusty over crazy any day of the week.
Because you can clean up. You can pick up their socks. And you can clean a toilet. You can't manage a psycho.
It's breaking down like in front of you and like tears are streaming down their face and you have no idea what you did because all you did was just take out the trash and come back. Like, I don't know how they deal with it actually. Men are saints. They're saints.
They really are. I'm thinking back to like the fights that I've had with Brian where like I'm just upset about something and just that face that they get where they're like, and they know that they can't say anything.
Right.
Nothing. You're just
going to get so much worse.
And then even when they don't say anything, like Brian, I'm like, oh, why aren't you fucking talking?
Because then you're like forced to confront how crazy you actually are, like in your brain. And that's a horrible thought. So you have to like lash out instead and make it about them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just totally a psycho and you can't escape that knowledge.
I'm so glad I've gotten better, though.
Yes.
I've gotten better.
At least now, when I'm being crazy, I'll just like start crying uncontrollably and I'm like, I'm sorry that I'm being a psycho. Like, I'll acknowledge it while I'm in the process. I'm like, this just happens sometimes. And he's like, I know, it's okay.
Oh my gosh. All my boys are so like sensitive and perceptive that what I do is, whenever I'm feeling crazy is I've learned to just shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Like, I can't, because if I open my mouth, I'm going to start saying some shit. So like I keep it super quiet, but they're so like sensitive and perceptive to my mood that like I notice that I'm making them walk on eggshells and they're like even the boys are like, love you, Mom. Are you okay? Right. And they're so sweet, but even them doing that, I'm like, why are you catering to me?
You're training them to have wives.
I am, and I feel so bad. And like I have to tell them all the time. I'm like, it has nothing to do with you. I just feel a little cranky. Like that's it. But they're still like, and they'll like go clean their room or something, and I'm like, no, you don't have to do that. Like, I'll get over it in a day.
You.
Not you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Even Brian too come down and start like washing a dish.
When John was here, he had this horrible habit of sleeping in horrible habit. Okay. His bad habit is he likes to sleep in until like 8 or 9. And I'm generally like back from the gym and showered, and I've done like half my day by the time he like gets out of bed. Well, if I got frustrated that day, it didn't have anything to do with him because I knew he was going to be asleep.
Mm-hmm.
If I slammed a door or something, like this man would sit straight up in bed and he'd be like, how can I help you?
Yeah.
I'm just frustrated. You don't need to do anything. I'm just a little mad, but not at you.
Oh my God.
Cute.
Brian does the same thing. If I like accidentally like set something down, look, you got my shit all running. If I set a dish down too hard, and like he like sleeps in like, you know, as long as he's not sleeping until like noon every day, I don't give a shit. But like on the days where he's sleeping a little later, like 9 o'clock, and I set something down loudly or like I yell at the dogs, like he gets up and he's like, oh, sorry, I slept so much. Like, what do you need me to do?
They always lead with that. What do you need me to do? What can I do for you? Do you need some help?
Oh, they're so good. They're so good.
Really
I'm going to be
sweet.
doing an episode with Brian here pretty soon too.
Yay.
Because everybody really liked the last time that he was on.
I liked it. I think I saw that last one.
Yeah.
Right? That was a while ago.
It's been a long while, but I have so much fun just talking with him whenever he's on. So we're going to do that too.
As long as you like me better, that's fine.
Always.
Thank you. I'm crazier than him, so you just need to like tell me that you like me better, and then you can say whatever you want to him later.
I'm going to shut this off like, holy shit. Hannah, God. As long as John and Brian don't become friends, we'll be good because we don't need them communicating.
No, that's going to have to be shut down immediately because
it's already
can't
sketchy.
Talk about us.
It's already sketchy that our kids are friends.
Yes, right? We don't need our like significant others talking about us too.
Mm-hmm. It's tough.
Have you noticed we've just become messengers for the boys now? Yeah. We really do. Unrelated to all podcast things, we need to connect them so that we can stop that because it drives me crazy.
I know.
Everybody has a phone. Talk to each other.
I know. Does he use like Messenger Kids or anything?
He uses Snapchat.
Oh, okay.
He's like, he'll use like, I think he has WhatsApp too, but he only doesn't use Messenger Kids because I haven't set it up.
Okay. Yeah, we need to get them doing something because they kick my door in. Can you talk to your friend?
Well, and I get in trouble too because Wesley would be like, hey, can you see if the boys will play? And I'm like, yeah, just a second. And I'm in the middle of something, and then I forget to message you. And then when he comes back in like half an hour later, he's like, what did she say? And I'm like, she hasn't responded yet.
I know.
So I make it your fault.
I know. I've done the same thing. Or like I'll be like, okay, I'm messaging her, or they'll tell their mom this or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And I'm in the middle of something, and they stand there. And I'm like, okay, so I'll go over. And I'm like, okay, I sent the message. And they're like, did she read it? I'm like, no.
They don't trust us.
No. For good reason. They're too smart.
Right. No, it's true. We're very bad about that. But in case we can connect them and it won't be that hard.
Yeah. We'll have to do that. Oh God. Well, I'm gonna end this here because I can hear Willow banging around down there. Not that she's unattended. Brian's with her. To be clear, I don't need people.
You just left your baby in the basement.
Yeah. Oh, poor girl. She's so funny.
Okay,
So
well, good talk.
yes, we will. I'll get with you a little later, and we'll schedule out the next one.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye.